Welcome back to lower level play calling. This is going to be the second week of this installment. It sounds like a lot of people really enjoyed the first one, so we're going to keep rolling around. I apologize. It took me a few weeks to get to this. For those of you that this is the first time you're watching this series, I am calling some sophomore games, and as a way to help out new play callers or experienced play callers, basically this is my therapy and my, self-reflection on things I should have seen, things I could have done better, as a way for other people to not make the same mistakes. So just as a little bit of background, like I mentioned, series to help new play callers. I'm really going to try to not touch on individual assignments or call out high school kids in a public medium. And by the same token, I'll be watching the comments. These are my players. I care about them. I really don't want any, internet toxicity to go their way. So if you want to rip me and my play calling, go right ahead. Leave the kids out of it, though. This is going to be a focus on the strategy. So again, how things are aligned, what to call, what the situation is, and not so much on individual assignments. And as far as scouting, I'm not really worried about other teams scouting me based on this, because let's be real, if you've watched anything I've done, you know what I'm calling. So without further ado, I believe we can get into our adjustment here. Let's see if I can transition. All right, after a slight delay, now you've got me. This should be a lot better, I hope anyway. So now that we're here, I probably should have had this queued up better. Let's go all the way to where I want this to be. So to give you an idea, this was, I'd say probably not the best game I've ever called. As coaches, you've got just about every, when you have one of those weeks where everything that can go wrong does go wrong. We had picture day that took up a practice. I think we had rain and or heat that minimized a practice. It's our first true away game. We're playing on a Thursday, so we're already on a short week. So all that being said, not a great game. However, this is our first offensive play. But what I want to mention is that this is also the last play of the first quarter. We were playing a wing T team. They marched down the field. So this is, play 19. So they probably had if I'm doing the math right, a 16 or 17 play drive that basically eats up the entire first quarter. And this is our first play from scrimmage. We are, of course, running triple. And you'll see here, with most teams, I like to come out and over just to see how they react to it. They do march this outside backer over, which is good. That's exactly what I want to see. And we run triple, and notice that there is a big hole right here. Actually, if you consider that this is actually the pitch key, our window is there. That is a very nice alley to run triple into. And so we wind up getting a dive read, run right past, and we get a pretty good play there. Now, that's great. So next play, right? I ran over. Notice that we flipped sides of the field. That was the last play of the first quarter. I'm now going to run zone because I think they're worried about triple. So it did, of course, the camera just blurred out a little bit, but they're still matching that outside backer there. Ooh. And when we run zone, we get a pretty good block on the inside. That defensive end is sitting and waiting for the quarterback, but because it's zone, the quarterback never comes. What is really important that we learned after this game is you really need your quarterbacks to carry out their fakes. Because if that defensive end is not worried about quarterback, he's able to fall in on zone or on triple and make that play. So very, very important. Watch your quarterbacks, watch your A-backs as well, right? If you're running zone, your A-back shouldn't be jogging with his head down. It needs to look like triple. So when we move on later on in this drive, we're running over and we've got Rocket. So first thing to notice, whereas they used to have that outside backer head up on Rocket, this outside backer has now cheated into the outside. This is bad. Well, I shouldn't say it is bad. However, your tackle and your A-back here need to be really smart to know that they need to be flat and they need to make sure they can get underneath this guy. If this became an adjustment later on, which I will admit I don't think I caught, you can have your over guy cheat in on this so that he can still get that block. It doesn't do a lot of good to have him out here with no one else to block, unless you can make the block on the inside, but that's a big if. So you'll notice he does creep in, and what winds up happening is, spoiler alert, we do not get underneath him, and he winds up coming straight through, winds up ruining the Rocket path. We do still get some positive yards there, but it's definitely not as pretty as it could be. Next play. So I'm not showing every play that we ran, but as a first drive after the first quarter, I think it's a good vision into this. So we're running over again. Again, they have gone back to matching this outside guy here. That is good. But we try to run Rocket back the other way. And we actually get two good stock blocks out of our receivers, right? That puts them in a good angle. They know they're blocking for Rocket. It should be really easy for them to come down, make contact for a second and a half for the A-back to slip back around outside. So we're rolling. This is really good. And then I think we run a few inside plays here. Without a lot of success. One thing I do want to point out, you can see, well, I hope you can see, right? Our splits are getting a little close here. It's one of those things I always kick myself when I watch film afterwards to not keep an eye on. But especially if you're an O-line guy, if you have a separate O-line coach, make sure you are hammering splits during the game. If you get to that point, and I got to this point in the game, I think we'll get there, where just nothing's working, and you're like, how can triple not work, right? Like, the dive shouldn't be able to, force a dive read and make the play and get the quarterback if he keeps it. A lot of times that's going to be due to splits because he's not far enough away. So we run Rocket left again. Coaching point here, and again, this is not an individual, but you want to time your Rocket up. If your Rocket guy is slowing down and has to look back to the ball, that causes the outside backer to trigger here, and makes your play not the way you draw it up. So luckily, we're able to get the block, we're able to bounce it off inside, we go through. And that's our first drive. We're pretty happy with that. However, as I've alluded to, there were some adjustments made, and we'll cover through those. So, going through, I think this is the next drive. It's still quarter two. We're still running Rocket. Remember, like I said before, outside backer used to be here. Now he's lined up inside. This is bad. If you have an audible system, that is something you could trust your quarterback to do. I did not at this point. So when we try to run Rocket this way, We're able to get through. And if you notice here, there is no one for this receiver to really block. So we had that over, and we basically did it all for naught. Because he didn't really help us out there. He would have been better on the other side pulling that other corner over. Now, so finally, yeah, let me cue this play up so we can get to where the formation is. So if you know me, post wheel is my favorite route concept. So that is what I like to run when we have 3rd and long. I had been running out of over the entire time, and I didn't want to give away that I was doing something different by lining up in base, right? So if all of a sudden we were over, and then all of a sudden come out in base on 3rd and long, I didn't want to tip the cap there. So I ran out of over. So this is the first thing in your pocket you can do if they're not respecting the over. You can see that that inside backer is here. If you watched my previous video, I believe it's called passing out of over. All I do is I have this inside receiver is running a bubble, and I make sure to tell him that he needs to stay at the line of scrimmage. And what this does is if you watch this corner and the outside backer, they're both really worried about that bubble. And you'll see that, so we have our post, and then we have our arrow coming underneath. Ignore the fact that that's into the sideline, but just to give you an idea, you'll see that we don't complete this play, but our wheel route is open, right? And actually throwing this out of over makes them have to respect that just a little bit more and see that the arrow or the wheel route gets wide open, although we don't complete it down the sideline, which is sad, but the concept is still good. So moving on. I am still running over, and I'm still running. So they've gone back to matching my over. I wish I knew what the defensive coordinator's thought process was here. If you notice, right, if we were to draw that imaginary line from the center, I believe this is a nose guard, right? If we're just counting players, 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5 guys to the over. And if there's 4.5, and if I'm doing math right, that's going to be 6.5 away from it. So this is a really good play call in my eyes, right? We're running zone left, and we have a lot more guys than they do. So as we let this go, they're actually blitzing on the outside, and look at that. We actually get a block here. What's really important with your inside receivers, and I get this a lot, if you run out of trips or if you run out of over, yes, we are bringing that back or that receiver over to kind of open up that lane and make things a little bit more wide for you. But they're not just there to like have fun. Ideally on this block, you want him to try to take a really shallow angle. And if you can turn him on an inside play outside, that's money. And if I actually play this again, you'll see that if we get this block, it's actually this guy that winds up making the tackle. Right, there's a football awareness that we're really, I don't know about other coaches, right? But like there are kids that love football and have grown up playing football and watch a lot of football, and there are others that are picking it up. We always try to encourage our kids to watch football, but there is that basic instinct of like know where the ball is going and try to be between the man you're trying to block and the ball. That especially at the lower levels isn't as inherent as it is at the higher levels. So later on in the game, we're now in the third quarter, second half. I have stopped going out of over. To be perfectly honest, I don't quite remember why. I think we weren't getting as much from it. And now we're running triple left. So now that we're outside of over, notice that they are crowding the line of scrimmage here. Never good, especially when I already mentioned, I think our splits are very tight. So we've got a lot of people in a very small area. and we wind up just running straight into it. And I feel like there was some reason I wanted to point out here. This is why I put this play here. So what also, as a coach, you should notice or put someone in charge of watching, because again, biggest thing I learned coaching, you can maybe watch one thing, one play, or one person, one assignment on every play. It really takes a whole coaching staff to make this offense work. If you notice that you have a backside backer making pursuit based on this motion and going at the snap without any respect for any sort of counteraction, you need to be able to expose that. Again, I mentioned all the things that we were doing coming into this week. Make it a priority to have some sort of counteraction, right? Whether it's a counter ISO, a counter option, a QB counter. If they're not respecting you on the backside, you need to be able to expose it. Because if they're running this way, that's one less person over here that you need to worry about. And he generally either runs himself out of the play or gives himself a worse angle to pursue and a better angle for your blockers to block him. So again, notice that he just flies up and out. So any type of motion back this way would have been great. And they weren't doing it every play, but I think I grabbed the one just to give you that example. So this, I was caught a little bit unaware out of over. I wasn't ready, as ready as I should have been if teams just stopped respecting over. Right, they're in their condensed set. We're down on the goal line. And I noticed this. And what I see here is 2-on-1. Which I like. I did not have the play that I wanted in, and I had to draw it on a whiteboard and pray that my kids could do it, which, as a coach, not always the best thing to do, but it did wind up working out. So what we call is a now, right? So if you've got 2-on-1, your outside receiver is basically taking one step forward and looking for the ball inside. Your inside receiver is going to block this guy. And what you're hoping is that this is an instant pass off the snap out to this guy here, and between the block and the guy receiving the ball, that it's a block at the line of scrimmage, hopefully after the ball is thrown, and that you can make a guy miss and get into the end zone. We were not as successful as I wanted here. We didn't get into the end zone, but the play was good. Coaching point that I want to emphasize here is this guy is eligible. He does not need to fade backwards on this as if he were the inside receiver. You want to be careful because it's a quick pass. This could easily be deemed a backwards pass, and therefore if it's dropped, it needs to be covered. Whenever we practice this or talk through it, I always tell my receivers, any ball that's incomplete or dropped, jump on it anyway, just in case. Don't leave it up to the officials. So I believe this is the next play. So we're running here. I come down, and so I've been running over all game for a lot of it. I believe this is the first time I came out in trips. So I still have both my receivers on the outside. I take my right A back and move him inside, move him to the other side off the line between the A and the X. And what we're doing is we're running a basic slant concept, right? Quick inside slant, and then what I like to do is roll this A back over in an arrow. They can't defend all three, and you'll see, let me see if I can do this in slow-mo and it'll pick it up all right. This guy starts giving a blitz look, which I wish if my quarterback had seen this, or if, let's be real, if I had seen it and been able to yell at it. If he's blitzing, he can't blitz and be in pass coverage, which means that inside slant should be open right away. We miss it, and we're slow, and, it would have been really nice when he's here, right? And there's no one there. But as the slant starts going, safety's able to cheat over, backer's able to cheat over. If it's not passed, though, check out this wheel route is definitely open down here. But as far as passing out of trips, it's a good concept to do. Later on in the drive, right, we do mid triple, any odd front. And I did not hammer this as much as I should have as a play caller. Midline, mid triple all day. And I'm trying to remember what happens here. Well, let's let it play, and then I'll try to remember why I threw this on here. Okay, so we've got... so this is why. So we get a really good look. If we call mid triple, we want the ball pitched. We've got a D end here. He's the dive read. We've got this guy out here is the pitch read. And what did we identify? Oh, we were smart. My A-backs are really good. We identified this as a one high front. So you'll see that we actually get a block on the inside backer here through the two reads. It's blocked really well. And I'll run this in slow-mo, but we get a dive read, which again might be for multiple reasons. But blocking otherwise is set up. That should be a money play. Did I actually run this? I did have stay. I had my A-back stay instead of running this as a counter motion. All right. So over left, and I'm running triple left here. Now you'll see this backer who is the pitch read. Let me make sure I've got that right. Yep. Is the pitch read is coming down. That should be good for us. However, because due to our line splits, we get a pitch read. Let's see, where did that guy come from? Our quarterback keeps it, but he doesn't challenge the dive read, and the dive read is able to play dive and quarterback, and we wind up getting tackled for a loss. 2 plays later, so another, if I haven't run this enough, oh, that's right, the camera doesn't get this all the way. This is post wheel, right, post, and then we're gonna have a wheel behind it. This is into the boundary, or no? Where are we? No, this isn't into the boundary. This is actually into the field, which is good. We do get a little pressure, but notice we are able to complete our post wheel, even against a too high safety look. There's always a spot there. And we didn't actually call this a snake stop, but my A-back does a really good job of he notices that everyone's dropping, and there's this big zone here with no other defenders in it. So he actually took his post wheel and broke it off and sat right at the yard line. I'm not sure exactly where the first down marker is, but I'll give him credit and say that he did this the correct way. Luckily, there was a guy coming across, and I feel like there may have been something else I wanted to show. Maybe not on this one. No. All right, so now we're back to running Rocket out of our regular flex or spread or base, whatever you want to call here. Notice that if you have an end who's whether you consider him an end or you consider him a linebacker and he's coming already looking like he's coming off the edge, it's a great time for Rocket if you can get underneath him. However, when you drop the pitch, nothing really good happens. So those are the plays that I wanted to show you today. What I did want to do is go through now and a few coaching points that I want to hit that I want you to take away from this game, learn from my mistakes. I already recall that there were a few. Well, let's see. Keep an eye on splits. You want to take advantage of rolling coverage and or pursuit on the backside. Why these are out of order, I don't know. And have a plan if the defense doesn't respect over, right? Have those play calls. Have those counters. Make sure you watch your splits. These are all things that as a coach, right, there's a million things you're watching. So being able to delegate and having some help watching those is good. But that's our week 2 film. And again, drop in the comments below what you like, what you don't like. Leave the kids out of it. Bash me if you want. And I'm hoping I have some time soon. I've got 2 more games to do so far that we've done, and another one I'll be coaching tomorrow. So I am backed up a little bit. I do apologize, but based on the reaction to this, I think you guys like it. So I'll keep rolling with it. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.